Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to lesson 65 in this series on developing a survival game. In this video, we'll be working on our dynamic weather system. Now, I just want to quickly address the hiatus in this series. Prior to this hiatus, I had recorded up to video 77, which included our swimming system. Now, I realized that there's been some time off, some things have been updated in the engines, of course, and I want to say in video 78, we will be moving to Unreal 5.1. Most of the things in the series so far will work as is in Unreal 5. There are some small changes we'll have to make, but we'll do that later on in video 78. All right, that said, open up your projects and let's make a start. Hi everyone and welcome back to the editor. In today's video, we're going to start creating our actual sort of, weather system. We're going to put together everything we've done so far. And there are going to be bits we add as we move towards the end of this section, but we're now getting to the sort of main show of what we're doing. And I've left my stat timer unconnected so we can play around a bit more and debug a bit of things more easily without having to worry about the character dying. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go to core, we're going to go to enums, and we're going to create a new enumeration. And this enumeration will be our weather-based systems. Now we're going to start with 4 basic systems. However, we will be able, based on these systems, to have variety within them, and we will create other systems that impact upon it. And when we transition from one system into another, we'll have some variation as well. So even though there's only going to be 4 base systems, we'll be doing a lot with them. And actually, we're going to create 3 enums to get this to work. So the first enum we're going to create is our base system. So go to blueprint enumeration, and it's going to be E weather systems. Let's pop that open, pin that into the correct window. It's still punishing me for what I did earlier to it. And we need 4 systems. And the first will be cloudless. The second will be cloudy with a chance of meatballs. The third will be light rain, or in our case, not meatballs, but meat cubes, because we have cubes of meat. And then we're going to have downpour. All right, let's save that. The next enumeration we need to make is our delta weather change, or delta weather times. So blueprint enumeration E delta weather times. So this is the change in weather we're going to have. And actually, I'm going to rename this, as E weather delta times. Not only then are all the weather things together. Why did that cause the... Okay, whatever. And not only are all the weathers together, it just is clear that it's the weather that is having the change in time. We're going to have also 4 changes here. So we need 4, more than 4 times to get one of those to show up. We're going to have 4 settings. So we're going to have slowest, which will be, I believe, 40-ish minutes. In game that is. Slow, fast, and fastest. The next one we need is our wind settings. So we're going to create another blueprint enumeration. This will be E wind settings. And again, we're going to have 4 wind settings. And this will be no wind, light wind, moderate wind, and finally heavy wind. All right, now to get our wind systems to work correctly, we need to put a wind actor into the game. So we'll do that next. So let's head back to our editor and let's just type in the word wind into our place actors. And we have this wind directional source. And you can have more than 1 in actually. We're only gonna put 1 in, and we're just gonna localize this at 0, 0, 0. So it's under the map. It's the wind sock that, the billboard isn't showing up. So the billboard for that should be a wind sock. I'm not sure why it's not showing up. For our wind sock, we are going to set the strength to 0 and the speed to 0, but it should be a wind sock. It should kind of look like that icon right there. Put the billboard back to 1. And I am going to put this into... I'm going to create a new folder, I guess, for it. It's the only thing that's going to be in weather, but I'm going to create a folder called weather, even though we have the weather system elsewhere. And actually, I'm going to move weather into our BP weather system from sky into weather as well. There we go. I'm going to save all again. And now I'm going to go over to my BP weather system. I'm going to cheat by clicking the edit BP weather system here. And yeah, we have a lot of stuff in here, don't we? So we need to now put our windsock in. And I actually don't care if this is valid or not. If you're doing before UE 4.26, then you will care if that's valid, but I don't. We are going to have something else there. We're going to have our wind actor ref. And again, this needs to be something we can edit so it's exposed. eyeball visible, and it's going to be our wind directional source. This will be a reference category, and I care if that's valid. All right. I'm going to save that. And now let's go back to our event graph. We are going to create a function called, a variable called current weather. And current weather will be our weather systems enum. It's going to go into a category called master. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a basic system just to test this out. And just to save myself a bit of a headache, I am going to I'll move things around as we finish things up actually. I'm going to create the event we'll actually use, which is custom event trigger weather effect. All right, and we're gonna revamp this. We're gonna iterate through this in later videos, like the next video. We're gonna get our current weather. We're gonna switch on our system, and we're going to switch and run through various things. Now, unfortunately, I tried to find a way to make this a little bit more compact, but I couldn't find one that didn't make the system overly complex. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a function called set lightning. So should we have lightning, yes or no, or should there be lightning, yes or no? And we're going to just very quickly create a new bool called b has lightning. Of course, as I said, this is a bool, so we'll put this into our bools category, and this will be private. We don't want anything else accessing it. We're going to set this here. I don't know why I did it this way. I'm just literally gonna collapse this down to a function. I think I was being lazy. And this is set lightning. Pop this open, and we are going to mark this as a setter. All right, so we has lightning on cloudless. We should not have lightning. On cloudy, likewise, we will not have lightning. As for our light rain, which I just saw the typo in that, let's make that a capital R and save that again. Control S, save everything. There we go. What we'll do is we'll create a random bool with weight, and we will give this a 25%, so 0.25 chance of having rain. We're going to duplicate this down here for our downpour, and we'll increase this to a 50% chance, so a 0.5. Now we will be unplugging these and just marking these as true in later tests. We are then going to create a new variable called new rain amount. This is the amount of rain that we're going to pass through to our player character. It's a float. And to get this to work, what we're going to need to do is go back to our interfaces, go into our player character and open up our trigger rain. And we need to add in, well, a few new variables. We need to add in rain amount, which is a float. And then we need to add in two more floats. One will be wind X and one will be wind Y. We're actually gonna have another variable between is raining and rain amount down the road, just so you're aware, but we'll take care of that later on. We'll take care of that probably in the next video, actually. All right, so we're gonna set new rain amount into, well, first let's put in a category called rain, and we are gonna set this to 0 on both our cloudless and cloudy. On our other two, we will set this to be a random float in particular ranges. So let's plug those into the correct spots after we line them up. All right, so for our light rain, we're gonna do a random float in range, and I'm going to be a bit lazy here. Set this to 2000, and I'm gonna set my max to 11,000 if it will let me. Let me just try that again, 11,000, there we go. And the part where I'm gonna be lazy about this is I'm going to promote this to a variable, and this will be my min light rain. And I'm just gonna compile to make sure that takes through my number of 2,000, sorry. And then I'll do the same for our max. This will be our max light rain. Again, compile, and let's start moving these into the correct categories of rain. And that is, again, the correct value. That's good. We're gonna duplicate this node down here. Nope, that's not the node I wanted you to duplicate. Thank you. And for our new rain max, or min, sorry, we'll do 15,000. And then we'll do double that, so 30,000 for our max. And again, we're going to promote that to a variable, and this will be our min downpour. And then again, max downpour. All right, and I'm just going to check that those values have set to 15,000 and 30,000 respectively. They have, we're good. And now what we're going to do, and again, because this is debugging, I'm going to just do this in a very haphazard kind of messy way. I apologize. I'm going to actually move this up a bit to do what I want to do. I'm going to get player character, and from player character, I'm going to trigger rain, plug this into there. We actually are going to mark is raining as true. There's a reason. This is going to cover some other things as well. The is raining, as I said, doesn't really work the way it sounds, and in fact actually isn't needed. We're going to duplicate that down here, leave everything else as is, and then we're going to just keep copying these nodes. I'm actually going to have to move these further down into the relatively correct spots. Again, the haphazard messiness is how I've done the use player character there. We're going to pass the new rain amount there. We aren't going to worry about the wind direction for a video at the very least. It might be 2 videos before we actually tackle that. Plug that into there. Actually, no, probably will be the next video. Line that up, and again, pass that into there. All right, so next what we need to do is we need to create a function for our setting if we should have lightning or not. I mean, we've already set, do we have lightning? What I mean by set for if we have lightning or not is how we're gonna run this trigger lightning. So I'm gonna actually take this set timer here that we have from earlier. So our set timer with its loop and its create event for trigger lightning. I'm just gonna put this aside for a moment. I'm going to create a branch. Off this branch, I'm going to do a check on has lightning. And I'm going to promote, before I go any further forward, our lightning timer here to a timer handle variable called lightning trigger th for timer handle as usual. We'll put this into our lightning category, and I'm going to take this trigger we've just created. I am going to first check is valid, and again I'm going to have a branch off of the true. So if this is valid, what I want to do is, well, either clear our current timer or create a new one. So what if it is if it already is valid but we're creating a new timer, because you know we might have changes in our storms, so some dynamicness here, we're going to clear and invalidate the original timer, and then we are going to create the new timer. I'm going to put a reroute there, by the way. I'm just going to line those back up. If we for some reason do not already have a timer and we need to create one because, you know, has lightning but this isn't valid, then we will start a new timer. So if we go from, say, cloudless to a downpour with lightning, then we're going through this route. But if we go from, say, a downpour with lightning to a light rain with lightning, then we're going through this top route. So basically all we're doing is giving us our chance to change how our lightning is going to work in our world. So we're going to actually change this looping in just a moment. And by just a moment, I mean right now. We're going to change our timer to be a random float in range. We're going to go from, say, 1.6 seconds to 12.5 seconds to change how our lightning shows up. Now, if we don't have lightning, what we need to do is check, did we already have it? So we're going to do another is valid check down here. And if it is valid, then we are just going to clear our timer and get rid of it and do nothing else. So we're going to take all these nodes here, so the branches all the way to our lightning timer handle setter, and collapse this down to a function. And this is our set lightning effect. Let's pop this open. So check, should there be lightning? Check if there is lightning, turn it off. That's all we're doing, is we're turning off the lightning effect here. And in this case, what we're doing is we're reset the lightning timer, and then we are setting lightning timer and loop random. And we'll put a return node here, and we'll put one down here. If we want to be really simplistic about this, we'll just put one off the false as well. That, by putting a reroute in instead of actually pasting another return in. The fewer returns, technically the better design, but that's more for C++ than it is, and also for non-virtual functions. But hey, good practice still. All right. Also, it kind of refreshes the branches are if statements. We're going to set this after each of our events here. Sorry, I'm just trying to line these up so they tend to be around the same length. The next part is the part that gets a bit weird. We're going to create a new enum, and this is going to help our system be a bit more dynamic. And this is our weather delta time setting. And this will, of course, be of our weather delta times. All right, so with our weather delta times, this is where it's a bit different on these. We're going to set the first two to fastest, so they will transition the fastest. Don't worry about why that is. There is no actual reason. There actually is a bit of a reason, but there's no logical reason right now. When we get into the actual full system, there will be a reason why I'm setting something to fastest. And this is just a test that it works. And then we're going to test the other version of this. And this other version, what we're going to do is first we're going to move this into master, because it is a master type. And we are going to, we're going to create a function. I have, by the way. We're going to create a function called set Lerp Timer, or set Lerp type, not timer, sorry. We're going to have something in there called set Lerp Timer. And the way this is going to work is we're going to get a random integer in range, and I'm just gonna put this to the side for now, that we're going to do 2 byte. From 2 byte, we're gonna do 2 enum. There we go. We're just gonna tuck those 2 under there. We're going to select everything but the random and set this to a function called set lerp type. Let's pop this open, line that back up, and this will be our, well, int's fine. We're gonna create a new function in this function, but we'll create it and then collapse it down. And what we're gonna do is create a new float called lerp time, and this will be of type float. We'll be using this for delays and other things. It will go into our master category, and we're gonna set it. And what we're gonna do is we're going to select a time based on this enum. And the values for slowest is 51.43 seconds. For slow, it's 38.57 seconds. For fast, it is 25.7 seconds. 25.71 seconds. And then for our fastest, it's 12.5 seconds. Now, where are these numbers coming from? Again, I've done these calculations where I take how much time I want to pass in game. So that's our slowest. That's 5 minutes in game is 12 seconds in real life. Then 10 minutes in game is 25.71, a whole bunch of other numbers, seconds in the game world. Our 15 minutes is 30, oh, that should be 38.57, not 35. 38.57. I'm glad I'm double checking this. And then our slowest is 20 minutes in game, which is 51.428, rounded up to 43 seconds. All right, we're gonna take these nodes and collapse this down to a function called set lerp timer, and then we're gonna have our return node here. Let's pop open our set lerp timer and put a return node in here. So we're gonna use those numbers again. We're gonna see them a fair bit moving forward. But let's finish setting this up. So we're gonna do a random between 0 and 3. So it's going from the, we open this up, it's going from slowest to fast, but not doing fastest. Then we're gonna duplicate this down here, and we're gonna do a different set of random lerps on this one. And for this one, we're gonna do our times from, well, we'll do from 1 to 4, just to get the other end of that spectrum. We are then going to set our cloud density. So we're going to create a new variable called new cloud density. With this, we're only going to be focusing on the cloud density, not the overall density that we added in. Mostly I haven't had a chance to test it out, and I'm going to do that later on. I have to create a new variable for this, or category for this, called cloud. And on our cloud list, we're still gonna have clouds actually, potentially. We're gonna have a random float in range, and this one is going to range from 0 to 0.15. Again, you can promote these to variables if you want, so we can just easily change this, and this will be our cloudless, or min cloudless, and this will be our max cloudless. Probably should put the word density at the end of that, but meh. And let's toss this into our cloud parameter folder there. There we go. And then we're going to duplicate this down here. And this one will go from, say, 0.2 to 0.5. Actually, we're going to do this at 0.4. I've changed my mind on this. And then we'll duplicate this again. We're going to get our numbers in before we create these variables, because I want to think about the numbers. This will be 0.35 to 0.7, and then we'll duplicate it one more time. Again, we might change these numbers actually as well, because I'm just thinking about the testing we did earlier. This is going to be 0.4 to 0.8. If you want, go ahead and promote these to variables. I'm not going to do that on stream. I might do that between the videos just to make my life a little bit easier, so you don't have to watch me do something that you know how to do. We are then going to create another variable, and this will be our wind settings. This will be of our wind settings variable there. We'll put this in master, and then we're going to actually find our set lerp type and duplicate that. And this will be set wind type. Why? Because it has half of what we need already in it. We can delete these 3 nodes. We can get our wind settings, plug that into there, plug that into there. So we're converting from byte to our correct enum type, and we're gonna plug that into there. All right, compile, save, go back to the event graph, take your set wind type, plug it into there. And really, these can just be roughly the same for a lot of these. I did not duplicate like I wanted it to. All right, plug those both into there. We're going to do a random integer in range, and this will be a range from no wind to light wind, and that's going to go into both of these. And then for the other two, what we are going to do is we are going to again duplicate these nodes down here, plug that into there, plug that into, not do that, plug that into there. I like how it's fighting on doing basic things. We're going to duplicate this node down here, and we're going to change the settings from 0 to 3, and we're going to duplicate this down here and go 0 to, actually let's do 1 to 4, and then we will do our what we'll call initialize weather events. I just want to make sure I haven't actually done that yet. I have not. Cool. So we're going to create a new function called init weather effects. So it's a custom event called init weather effects. There we go. Move that up there. And now we're going to create a new timeline. And this is our weather timeline. And this is where things are going to get a bit, where those numbers come back into play. So for this, what we're going to do is pop open the timeline, and we are going to set the max to 52. And then we're going to create one new timeline that will be called 20-minute change. We'll put 2 keys in here, and we'll start with our second key. We're going to set this to 51:43 at a value of 1. And then we'll take our second key and we'll set this to 0, 0. And just line that up. And we're going to create another float track called 15-minute change. And we're going to put 2 keys in. Start with the second one again. And this will be 38:57 with a value of 1. And this will be 0 by 0. A third one called, you've guessed it, 10-minute change. And again, 2 points. Second point we'll start with as usual will be, wow. Actually, that is within a rounding error of where I want it. But just to be on the safe side, it's 25:71 and a value of 1. And this, of course, will be 0 by 0. And then we're going to put a third one in that is our 5-minute change. And for our 5-minute change, well, you should know the numbers from earlier. I don't expect you to have them memorized. I'm joking. Well, I'm going to change this to 0 by 0. I'm starting with the first one I realized, but that's just because that was so far over. It's 12.5 and a value of 1. So that we have all of our start points, here we go, at 0, 0, and we can see that we're increasing, but the increase changes or is slower for some of these. That's all this is really doing. All right, let's go back to our view, not our viewport, our event graph, and I'm just gonna move the event graph over. And this is a bit tricky because the timeline keeps running all the way for 52 seconds. So we're gonna have to find a way to stop it, just as a heads up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna set our wind, and we're gonna take our wind actor, if I can remember where it is, there it is, and we are going to set a few values. Now, I am taking care of this in case you want to have more than one directional wind source in. This is gonna be the primary one, and the reason why I'm saying that is we're gonna do both strength and speed. So strength is the amount of relative weight given to one of the sources as compared to the others. So just bear that in mind. I'm gonna pull from this, and I'm going to do set strength, and it's gonna give me the component node there. I'm gonna tuck the wind actor under the component. I'm gonna move these off to the, I'm gonna try to move these off to the side. I'm gonna plug the set strength on update, and I'm just going to line that up in there. And I almost feel like the set wind type, we've not actually set the wind strength anywhere because I've skipped a step. So let's address my mistake. And again, I'm gonna repeat what I said a moment ago about strength versus speed. Let's go back to our event graph for a second. Let's go back up to our little chain here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new float called wind strength. So that is of type float. It's gonna go into a category called wind. And let's just set this one really quickly before we do the next variable. And we're gonna do a select node on this. And it's gonna be based on our wind settings. We're gonna put a rerouting, so we're gonna need to have another select coming off of this in just a moment. So for our no wind, it is 0. For our light wind, we'll do a random float in range. And due to the trees we're using, these numbers are going to be a bit small looking. So light wind will be 0.01 to 0.1. Duplicate that. A moderate wind will be 0.11 to 0.15. And again, duplicate one of them. And our heavy wind will be 0.16 to 0.2. All right, duplicate all 3 of these things. And then we're going to pull off of here, plug into our index over there, put a reroute in so that we can line this up and make this all nice and pretty. We're going to pull off of this one, and this is going to be our our wind speed. Sorry, I lost the ability to type there for a second. It wasn't responding. Plug that into there. Now the wind speed is going to have a little bit of a variant in there, and that this is going to be 0.12, and this will be 0.13. Now, really, this one matters from multiple sources, but it does actually have an effect with a singular source as well, which is why we set both and why we're mindful of both values. We will handle very later on in the next video, because it's really complex, how this is going to affect our rain. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to collapse this down to a function, and this function will be our set wind values. Clearly, I'm going to come back in there and update it later on, so I'm not going to go in and put my return node like I normally do. I'm just going to duplicate this. Actually, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to do my init weather effects. And now I'm going to duplicate both of these and plug those into there. There we go. This is now our completed event chain for our basic weather system. This isn't the dynamic system yet. This is just fairly basic. All right, now we can go back down to our set strength. We have now values that we can do, and we're going to do a lerp. And for our lerp, what we're going to do, and this is where it gets a bit interesting, we're actually going to move this up just a tiny bit, and we're going to do strength. We want to get the current strength, and that is going to be our A value. So we'll come from that into A, and let me just move this into the correct category. I spelled it wund instead of wind. Almost like want. Yes, I am referencing Brooklyn 99. All right, and our wind strength will be B. As for our alpha, for now, just plug this into here. And what we're gonna do is we'll actually update that in a moment. We're gonna pull off of this, and we're gonna do set speed. Put another reroute in, plug that into there, duplicate your lerp, plug that into the new value. Our speed goes into B. I'm actually gonna just tuck that out of the way now for a moment. And then our alpha, again, is get speed. Don't worry, sorry, our A is get speed. Don't worry about the alpha for a moment. We'll take care of that in just a second. Take all these nodes, and we're gonna collapse this down to a function called set wind. So let's collapse down to a function, set wind, break that. We just needed it to get the alpha set up for us. We're gonna plug that into there, or raise it up there, put a reroute in so we can come around this. And yeah, sorry, I'm just gonna pull straight from that reroute into there. And just gonna line those back up a bit, tuck that down there, put a return node in, and there we go. Let's go back to our event graph. Now let's take care of how we're gonna do our alpha, because that is, well, to be fair, a bit tricky. We're gonna take our weather time delta time settings. We're going to get it, and we are going to then pull from this alpha and do a select node, and we're going to pass that into there, and then we're going to select based on the correct settings. So slowest is 20 minutes, slow is 15, fast is 10, fastest is 5. There we go. Fairly straightforward. Actually, I want this to be a little bit lower down. I'm gonna put a reroute in as well. All right, after that, we are going to pull from here and do set scalar parameter value. And now we're gonna search for our MPC, I think it's weather clouds. Yeah, it's weather clouds. And we're gonna look for our value of cloud density. And then we're gonna have a lerp here. And we are going to lerp between our new cloud, or a current cloud density, which we don't have a variable for yet. We'll create that in a second. And our new cloud density. So grab new cloud density, and let's just actually duplicate this and make our current cloud density. We're going to plug that into our A, and we'll set what that is in just a moment. And then we'll come off this reroute, go right into there. And then we're going to do a do once node, which does what it sounds like. It does something once until you reset it. And then we're going to have a retriggerable delay. This retriggerable delay will be our lerp time delay. We're going to use this for other things, by the way, as well. And at the end of this, what we're going to do is set our current cloud density to what our new cloud density was. And then we are going to create two custom events, one over here called reset. We're going to plug that into the reset there. And then we're going to create a second one called stop. So custom event stop. Stop, before it does anything, is going to call reset. Reset is going to go into stop. And then on completed, what we're going to do is we are also going to, let's just move this a little bit further to the right, is we're also going to call our reset. Okay, so that is our triggering of our weather events. There is a bit more that actually happens, but that is all that one's going to do. So this triggers activation of weather events. All right, how long have I been recording for? 40 minutes, Jesus. All right, I think we're ready for our first test. I think everything is set up for that first test outside of one small thing. We need a way to actually call this up. So we're gonna do something that is naughty, but we're gonna undo it in the next video. We're gonna cast and create a hard reference just temporarily for the testing purposes in our character here. And this actually is such a bad cast that the computer kind of goes, why are you doing this? No. All right. Also, one thing I want to double check is in our weather system. Yeah, those are all marked as true. That's good. We are going to initially do a get all actors, which is a really just nasty thing to do in general. Let's just be completely clear on that. So on press, we are going to get all actors of class. We are going to look for our BP weather system. And then actually, technically, we're not going to do this is casting what we're doing with this. We're going to do a for each loop. Actually, I am going to get rid of that. We're going to do a for each with break. Now, if you want to be really nasty about this, you could pull off of here and actually type in cast. And you're actually going to get a note saying, you're casting to something you already have. Why are you doing this? The reason why you might want to do that for debugging, keyword is might, is purely on the grounds that you want to guarantee that you actually are getting something and it's firing. However, you should still get that anyway. Now, what I'm going to go back for is just get a name of something. It's trigger weather effect. That's what I did for this one. So it's trigger weather effect. We're going to plug that into there. If that's true, then we're going to break from, if this fires off, then we're going to break from that loop. So let's go ahead and test this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a breakpoint in our weather system. So I want to see what we get. I'm going to hit play. Oh, there's a null pointer. I skipped something, which is setting our wind actor. There we go. All right, now let's test this. I'm also going to move my weather system to the other window just for a moment. I'll bring it back when the breakpoint triggers. So I hit the debug button. This is triggered. We are going to get a cloudless day. Actually, I've just stepped over. Next. Step over. I don't need to see that happening. Step over. Step over. What I care about is actually this one, our cloudless one. We are going to get some clouds. And I do care a bit about this one, so I'm going to skip, and then I'm going to go back here. We have a light wind. So if I hit resume, oh, we skipped one step, which is the rain. We'll take care of that in just a moment. I'll show you what I did wrong there that's important, because we forgot to set the value, because we left the debug value in. But if we, well, I'm going to slow-mo this just a bit, see if we can get the clouds to show up, see if we're getting them to change. Well, we can see the wind's working. The tree is moving. All right, very quickly, since we have that bug there, what we're going to do is go back to our rain event. Where is that? It's over here on the right. And just for now, this is really bad. Just plug that directly into there. So if it's 0, it won't change. We're going to do more with this in the next few videos. All right, let's hit play. All right, let's see what we get. So we are getting again. Oh, we're always going to get cloudless. Let's just create a custom event. Set. So I'm going to actually create the event that I meant to create earlier, which is the event that triggers off the trigger event here, which is set weather. Okay, so all we're going to do is we are going to, for this test, we're actually going to add more to this later on. We're going to get our current weather. We're going to set it, or we're going to take our current weather and set it. We're going to do a random integer, and the range is 0 to 3. So we're getting all 4 possible settings. We're going to convert this to byte, and then plug that into there. And then after this, we will trigger weather effect. And then what I'm going to do is go back to our player character after I compile this and move this to the other window. And it is set weather that I want, not trigger weather. That's why it's, yeah, sorry about that. So it's trigger weather effect. Oh, sorry. Wow. I just set weather. Oh, it's our timelines. I was very confused for a second what that was. And there we go. I just completely missed that. So let's try that one more time. There we go. We can get rid of that. And now let's try it. We'll also hit the breakpoint at the set weather effect instead. Hit play. Boom. Let's bring this back over and let's see what we get. And what we have is cloudless. Cool. I'm just going to hit resume and I'm going to hit play again and hope we get something different this time. Light rain. Awesome. So let's just hit play and see what happens. So the light rain automatically starts. We're going to change that so it doesn't automatically start, but we should start getting clouds showing up as well. So let's just, again, do a bit of some slow-mo and see our clouds show up there. And we have lightning. And now our clouds are showing up. We have a lot of clouds. We're fairly overcast. And we have some lightning coming in. So our dynamic weather system, or the base for our dynamic weather system, is set up. And that takes us through what we need to do in today's video. And this is nearly 50 minutes long. I apologize. There is a lot to do to get a testable system. We still have a lot to do to this system, including sounds, changing how the weather appears based on the previous weather system, and also adding in effects for like camera shake for lightning strikes nearby, damaging the character, delaying when rain starts or stops based on the type of weather. So we have a lot to do to make this system more natural, immersive, and dynamic. All of that said, if you want to be here when we start working on that, make sure to hit the subscribe and notify icon. Ooh, we have a downpour with heavy, that might be a light rain actually still. We got our clouds fairly quickly. Yeah, all of that said, if you have enjoyed this series and this video, make sure to hit the like button down below. And remember, this series has been brought to you by my Patreon sponsors like Connor, Rian, Hanas, and 1Vault10. I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.